Welcome to episode 299 of the Grip Strip Podcast, the Watch and Learn edition of the Grip Strip Podcast. My name is Philip Matthew, still recovering and in pain, but not really in a sense because of the Niners' demise. But that's football. At least the Niners aren't running out of backup quarterback, though they had a bunch of backups everywhere else in the championship game. And we still have our head coach. So there is that. My co-host, as always, is my buddy, the iRacing Indy 500 champion, computer genius, a gentleman and a scholar. Drove in the iRacing 24 hours last week in the LMP2 category. And like some of my friends at Apex, won that crew in their split for the GT Bow field or GTD field. Unfortunate circumstances came your way too, as Joshua Fine and your teammates on your way during your Rolex.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting Rolex 24 for us here this weekend on iRacing. So yeah, we'll get into that later. Obviously, we ran the LMP2 class with Sim Party Racing, so yeah, it was a lot of fun. I personally felt like I did pretty well, but obviously we ran into some trouble throughout the event. So yeah, you live and learn, and you'll come back next time, next race, it'll be better. So we'll go into that later in the sim segment. And then, of course, this weekend, playoff football. I guess both our teams are out now. So, we were talking a couple weeks ago about the possibility of a Jaguars and 49ers Super Bowl, and that's not happening at least this year. So, unfortunate there. So, I think at this point we kind of know who the Super Bowl favorite probably is, but be interesting to see how it plays out this weekend.
I mean, it's nauseating to think that one of the Niners' rivals is going to play the Super Bowl in the Niners' house with a chance to win another Lombardi trophy. After the Niners, of course, not won one in since 1994, which is brutal. We'll talk about all the events of divisional round weekend, talk about the coaching carousel, and updates in regards to that, with one of the games leading to another change, at least at the head coach position, but they don't change GMs, which when you look at their roster, I think as much as they may want to talk about the coach, I think it is a roster issue, but it is what it is. We'll talk all about that in the NFL. Do some news updates for NASCAR with a bunch of different news items, sponsorship announcements, and stuff coming along here in the Truck Series and the Cup Series. So we'll talk about some of those. And then we'll get into the roundup, which will review the Chili Bowl, the Dakar. I have to add Dakar as well. That's true. Dakar Rally, the Chili Bowl, San Diego Supercross, second race of the year, Rally Monte Carlo, WRC season opener, and of course we'll talk about the Rolex 24 at Daytona, which will be this weekend. And then we'll review and make picks for the championship weekend. Josh will let us know his exploits in the iRacing 24 hours. I'm also going to be racing a 2.4 hour event tomorrow at Apex One with a teammate in a GT. It's a GT based race with drivers both doing it at home and also at the Sim Center, so it'll be interesting as a lead up to birthday festivities for me, as my last days of being a man, being 40. Move on to old number 41 here in a few days, in less than a week's time. So we'll go and talk all about that. So yeah, let's get into the NFL. This past weekend was quite a brutal one. All my oh wow, Mike McDaniel went to work with the Chargers. Damn. There you go. So, credit
As
to
an
them. So,
offensive coordinator.
yeah, as the offensive coordinator, that's a big one. That's a big hire for them. Last week, where are we at? Yeah, so go back. So in the first game of the weekend was the Broncos hosting the Bills. That game was a close game. Went to overtime, and in the end, a turnover. The Broncos had a 20-10 lead. There were a bunch of mistakes. Josh Allen threw 2 picks. He fumbled the ball, fumbled twice, and threw 2 picks. Did have 3 touchdowns, though. James Cook ran for 117 yards, which Denver didn't really have an answer for him at all. Kincaid and Shakir both had solid days. Josh Allen fumbled 3 and lost 2. Yeah, wow, that is really bad. James Cook did fumble once, which that was in the when they were looking to score. Prater wasn't an issue there. He was able to kick at his old home. Broncos, Bo Nix, 56.5% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, of course, and he led the team in rushing, so it tells you they shut down the run. Marvin Mims ended up being their leading receiver, 93 yards on 8 receptions. Cortland Sutton had 4 receptions for 53. There were injuries for a couple of their wide receivers. And there was a bunch of drops too. Bunch of forced fumbles. Yeah, 4 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions. Defense kicking. They were 4 for 4. Field goal, Will Lutz, 3 extra points. So the big play in the end was the interception in the overtime period that allowed the Broncos to go and drive down the field for the game-winning field goal. In the process, Bo Nix ends up getting fractured ankle, and now is out for the rest of the season. The Bills fired Sean McDermott, but they promoted Brandon Beane. When you look at their roster, and there were a dearth of talent that they had on the defensive side of the ball, especially in the secondary, lack of a pass rush. And then you also look at some issues they had on the offensive line, and of course their wide receiver core was lacking. Josh Allen was trying to play hero ball, it seemed like, and it didn't work out too well. Now Sean McDermott got canned. The 49ers game was over basically on the opening kickoff. They gave up the opening score They were down 24-6 at halftime, and then they didn't really put up much of a fight after that in what was what will end up being Bob Sala's last game of his second stint with the 49ers, since he's now been hired as the coach of the Tennessee Titans. Seattle dominated the whole game. It was not really a factor. Held Brock Purdy 140 yards, interception, sacked twice. Purdy ended up having the most rushing yards, and he had fumbled too, so 2 turnovers. McCaffrey only had 35 yards rushing. Tonjes was the leading receiver of 59 yards. So that's... Tonjes had that fumble there after they had made a big play. Pinheiro made both of his field goals. Seattle, Darnold had got on the injury report. He only threw for 124 yards and 1 touchdown, but got sacked twice. Didn't need him because Kenneth Walker ran for 115 yards and 3 touchdowns, 116 and 3 touchdowns. Zach Charbonnet tore his ACL, so now he's out. He gashed us the last game in the Week 18 matchup. JSN had 19 yards, but he had a touchdown on 3 receptions. Cooper Kupp had 60 yards on 5 receptions. They really didn't have to do much of anything because their defense did all the work. So that was that game. Then in the Sunday matchups, the New England Patriots went and beat the Houston Texans. And I know that in your case, Josh, knowing that that's your divisional rival, seeing CJ Stroud basically be made to look quite ordinary is a positive sign for the Jaguars, for their prospects, along with the fact that Bob Saleh and Liam Cohen will get to go and have 2 handshakes a year in division after their great pseudo fight that took place after the game when y'all beat the hell out of us. That division actually is getting spicy now. The AFC South used to be kind of like a whatever division, but now there's a little bit of spice there. So, but Houston definitely has a quarterback question. The way CJ Stroud played was not good at all. And that's not going to win you anything. And they're really good defense. And in that division, the way that division's starting to trend, it's going to be harder and harder to win. The Rams end up winning in overtime. Bears got a touchdown with less than 10 seconds to go, tie the game. Get in overtime, we're in a position to go and kick a field goal to win the game, go to the NFC Championship game. Caleb Williams throws an interception. LA comes around and will go and play Seattle for a 3rd time this year. So yeah. So that's the divisional round. The AFC Championship will be first. Jarrett Stidham, who has not thrown a ball all year, his first competitive pass of this season will be his first pass he throws in the AFC Championship game on Sunday afternoon. Trying to pull like the old Washington Redskins when Joe Gibbs won with 3 different quarterbacks. The Giants had to win with Jeff Hostetler the one year when Phil Simms got hurt. You look at, I think I'm trying to remember when Frank Reich had to win for the Bills when Jim Kelly got hurt. There's a few instances, but this is an interesting, and with Denver being in this position to possibly go to the Super Bowl, it is a huge weight on Stidham's shoulders, but sounds like, I mean, Peyton signed him when he came in to take over the job. I mean, the fact is Seattle has been this dominant defense, and they did it twice. They destroyed the 49ers twice. So now they have to play another divisional opponent with a chance to go to Santa Clara and win a second championship in the last, 13 years. Third Super Bowl appearance. The Rams trying to make their second Super Bowl appearance in the last third Super Bowl appearance in the last 7 or 8 years or something like that. Won one, lost one. One at home against Cincinnati, lost to the Patriots in one of the worst Super Bowls I've seen in a long time. Denver played. Or no, Denver hasn't played LA. They played against Seattle in that game that Seattle won at Giants Stadium when Bruno Mars was the only good redeeming quality about that whole entire day, that whole entire night. And then, of course, Seattle lost to New England famously when Russell Wilson threw the ball instead of them running the ball. Comparisons to the Legion of Boom. With this defense, we're coming out. But yeah, I mean, what were your takeaways on the whole entire weekend, man?
Yeah, I mean, for the Broncos and the Bills game, I mean, it was looking like a close game throughout the first half, and then the Broncos kind of pulled away by halftime. I think with Josh Allen, the fumble that he had before half was pretty crucial because they ended up losing by a field goal. So it was very poor decision making. I don't know what he was thinking trying to do that. Looked kind of similar to the fumble that he had in 2019 against the Houston Texans in the wild card round. And then also, I mean, if you've played Madden or NCAA or anything like that, sometimes you accidentally hit the pitch button to pitch the ball to another one of your teammates, and it's almost like he was trying to pitch the ball or something. And you kind of saw that late in the game, with the hook and lateral that they were doing, or hook and ladder that they were doing to try to get in position in that game. So I don't know what he was thinking there, but obviously turned it over. That led to a Broncos field goal. And then, of course, at the end, they end up losing by a field goal. Then, of course, there was the controversial interception that took place. The Broncos intercepted the ball from Josh Allen and not Diggs, but Brandon Cooks was kind of in that mess and everything. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, is that a catch? It's not a catch, or it's not an interception. And I mean, I think if you look at the replay there, I mean, Cooks looked like he wasn't even convinced he caught it himself. And I think your body language does probably have a good part in selling or, not selling the fact that you won that play there. So, with that, and then, I mean, the rules are the rules. And, a lot of people have come out and said that, looked like maybe that was an interception. I kind of tend to agree. It looked like an interception there. So, that was a pretty impactful play for the Broncos, and that led to them winning there. So now Sean McDermott, of course, out as the coach of the Bills, which I mean it's pretty shocking. But when you look at what he's done, he's been there for 8 or 9 years now and hasn't won a Super Bowl yet, obviously in the prime of Josh Allen's career and all that. So, you wonder if the Bills are ready to start over and try something different. But of course, when you have a coach like that who can, get you to the championship, or not get you the championship, but certainly get you to wins every year, you wonder what kind of drop off is there going to be after they fire him. So, and depending on who they get as a head coach. And obviously, I think today, I think it was, or yesterday or today, they talked about, I guess, the ownership and the GM and McDermott had a meeting, and I guess McDermott wasn't, on the same page as how he felt about the roster compared to what the GM and the owner felt, and they decided to make, looks like they're kind of reacting off of that and making a change. So we'll see what the Bills, who they end up hiring. But yeah, certainly big change, and I guess for them, they're hoping that that's a change that sparks them to get to the Super Bowl for Josh Allen there. So yeah, it was a pretty exciting game there, and of course, yeah, at the end, Bo Nix breaks his ankle, and he's ruled out for the rest of the playoffs, and who knows how long into the offseason next year will he be out for. So yeah, that's a pretty wild kind of ending there, and now that kind of determines who is going to win next week. And obviously, yeah, with the Patriots winning over the Texans, you almost, to me, you almost just shoe in the Patriots, but I guess, Jarrett Stidham will probably be ready as ever, but obviously he's never thrown a pass this season, and it's been a while since he's thrown a pass in his career. So, just wonder what is he going to be able to do against the Patriots defense here. So it's going to be interesting to watch that. And then, of course, the Patriots game on Sunday for the AFC. You had the Patriots and the Texans, and of course, CJ Stroud has not been great at all this year as a quarterback, and just hasn't been really good at all for a while, and obviously was horrible in this matchup here against the Patriots. And there's the I guess people memeing him, of course, with he has a screenshot of him from his Instagram story from like 2023, and he said his top 5 favorite QBs, and he's like number 3 on the list there. So yeah, that was pretty interesting to see that play out. Of course, says the Texans did have multiple chances in the second half to close within a possession, and they weren't able to in that game. And even with the Patriots having multiple turnovers as well, so that was for the Texans, a lot of missed opportunities, especially with the way that their defense played in creating opportunities that the offense wasn't able to take advantage of there. So for the Texans, of course, questions at quarterback. The Patriots, they'll move on and potentially go to the Super Bowl here, which, yeah, I'll probably, pick the Patriots out of the AFC to reach the Super Bowl here. So, obviously the, for me, it's Jags fan, obviously, seeing Texans lose like that, great. Then I also think like, they should have beat the Bills, and then that meant they probably would have played the Patriots. And then, if things, held out the same way, let's say that against the Texans, Bo Nix somehow breaks an ankle, then, but they still won. Like, let's say that result played the same, the Broncos won, but their quarterback got hurt. Well, then the Jaguars are basically like, at that point, I think you almost have to shoe him in as the Super Bowl contender there. So, a lot of what ifs there, but we'll see how that plays out next year. So, for the AFC, it's going to be interesting next week for sure. And then, the NFC game, I was, in the middle of the iRacing 24, so really wasn't able to see only about half of the Bills game really, was when about when I turned it on. And then for, the 49ers, like I think I saw some of the beginning there, the opening kickoff return, and then I kind of had to go back to my stint in the iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona, so I missed a lot of that game. And then I, when I was finished with my my drive after my third stint, I looked at it on my phone, and I saw it was like lopsided, like I think at least like 17-6 or something, and then I was like, yeah, it's probably over. And then I looked later, and it was 41-6, and I'm like, man, this is really bad. And obviously for the Seattle Seahawks, obviously I didn't watch, so I can't really say exactly what happened there, but I lean on you for that, Phil. But I guess, like, from seeing them play throughout the year and seeing how they played against the final game in the regular season for you guys, the Seahawks have really strong defensive line. They just able to crush the offensive line on the other side and just disrupt. I mean, you talk about the Legion of Boom. Well, that was, I mean, obviously that was the whole defense for Seattle, but in particular, of course, the back, the back seven with the defensive backs. But I mean, their defense or their defensive line is just monstrous in creating pressure and getting sacks. So yeah, that was just knowing from that. I mean, you can kind of tell that. I mean, probably the offensive line for the 49ers just got crushed big time there. So yeah, that's going to be a huge factor in the next week, of course, with the Rams and the Bears, which saw a good amount of that game. And yeah, I mean, I think the Rams probably they obviously were in control of that one for the most part. But then Caleb Williams and the Bears were able to somehow mount a comeback there, and then of course crazy throw at the end for the Bears to be able to get into overtime. But then on the other end of it in overtime, of course, costly interception for Caleb Williams, and it looked like the way DJ Moore ran that route just wasn't on the same page with CJ Stroud or with Caleb Williams there, so unable to convert there and end that game in overtime for the Bears. Now the Rams and the Seahawks rematch, of course, Thursday night game back, I think in November or early December with the Rams and the Seahawks is basically going to be a rematch of it, and we'll see. The Seahawks in that one were down for a bit of that game, and then they came back and they were able to pull off the win there to take ultimately take the number one seed. So we'll see the Rams can defeat the number one seed in the Seahawks here this weekend here in the NFC Championship. So it's going to be a pretty good matchup there, and I think out of that two teams, whoever wins that matchup, I think will probably win the Super Bowl on the NFC side. So we'll see how things play out here in the championship game weekend here next Sunday.
Yeah, when they returned the kick, I was like, I had a sinking feeling. I didn't know what to think. I've gone over the game, and then I was like, it was almost like I was behind on my whatever. I guess I was delayed. I don't know how my feed was delayed that much, and then I went from literally thinking, oh, we're going in overtime for the Denver Buffalo game to Buffalo lost. So I didn't know what happened. I didn't see the end of the game. Didn't know, so that was bad. That was unfortunate. Sat there to watch that, and then and then their first drive, the Niners get the ball. They're trying to run a freaking option, option strong with freaking Kyle Juszczyk on a fourth down to keep the ball. Excuse me, and they failed at that. Then the next drive, Ton just catches the ball and fumbles it, and I'm like, yeah, that's it. I basically, we were down, what is it, 14 nothing at that point, or it might have been 17 nothing or 17-3. And then I was like, so I went to Apex and I went to practice because we have this race tomorrow. So in the end, they lose 41-6. It's shows that there's a lot of holes, notwithstanding, of course, all the injuries that they had. There's a definite need for playmakers on the outside. And for years, I've yelled about how bad our offensive line is outside of Trent Williams. And fundamentally, our offensive line twice in 3 weeks got by the Seattle defense. And then for Brock to not, after what he had done on his return, to basically be made to look ordinary in those 2 games, I think proves that the need to shore up the line, the need to actually get playmakers on the outside that can actually stay on the field, that want to actually be here, is a key. And then on the defense, it's every facet needs to be worked on. Not just because Nick Bosa is every other year, every 2 years gets hurt. Fred Warner gets hurt for the first time, but everybody in the linebacker room went down. 5 linebackers, all of them went down at some point this year. And then the DBs, they're very young, so you assume with OTAs and with another year in the system, which it's looks like is going to be Gus Bradley, but former Jaguars coach. But he's been in with the Niners this year. I would venture to say if there's other people that are available, like Brian Flores or whoever, they should be calling around, because obviously working for the Niners is usually a good chance of getting a call or opportunities. Bob Saleh being a great example of that. But yeah, the Niners going to this offseason having to address issues on certain areas. They're the third best team in that division, and it's been proven because the top 2 teams in that division are playing for the NFC Championship. So, it's a bummer, but for what they went through and what happened, some of the teams they lost to, at the end of the day, you lose twice to Seattle. They were late in the season. You lose to LA once. You lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars, which was one of the best teams in the AFC. That's 4 of your losses this past year. So in the end, there are worse things when you look at, the for their situation and how it went for them. I could be, I could be more, really feel really terrible about it. But, for what the Niners went through this season, injury wise, and with how things worked out, that they were able to even be in a position, to even have a chance to possibly go to an NFC Championship game is crazy, lost to the Buccaneers, and who would have lost to the Buccaneers and lost to the Texans? Wow, I'd forgotten about the Texans loss. The Buccaneers loss was bad. I'd forgotten about the Texans loss. The LA, that was at home. Yeah, that was at home against the Rams too. So we lost to both Seattle and LA at home, and then went to Seattle and got killed. And then after that, lost to the LA Rams, would won 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row before losing that game to Seattle. Yeah, I think we lost to Houston, man. Lost to Houston, lost to Tampa Bay. Considering most of those teams were all, virtually all those teams except for Tampa, of course, were in the playoffs. So, with all the injuries they had. So, CJ Stroud, yeah, they need to really look at, keep Davis Mills in there, push CJ Stroud. I don't know what happened to him. He has regressed greatly. Patriots have a huge opportunity. If they can run the ball really well, like Buffalo did, I think they're in the driver's seat there. To possibly make it to Santa Clara, and then Seattle, to see if Darnold can hold up against the Rams. He's had issues against the Rams, so can he pull it off? He didn't have to do anything. He hasn't had to do anything against the Niners twice in the last 3 weeks, but he's going to have to do something against the Rams, and he's had issues against them. So it's something that we're going to have to see. And then for Stafford, you don't know how many opportunities you're going to get, especially at his age, to go and get another run at it. So the Rams, I mean, with goofballs like Nakua and whatever, but, like Devontae Adams knows that too. There are veteran guys, but there's some young guns on that team that are really, really good. And McVay and Les Snead want to prove, after they had basically ignored the draft, they want to go and say, now we can win with our draft picks by drafting players too. And that would set the Rams and set McVay on the stratosphere, with 2 Super Bowl wins if they were to do that. If McDonald or whatever in Seattle win, John Schneider would cement his legacy for sure. Yeah, that's that. And I mean, the Denver thing, I mean, for Bo Nix, it's a bad situation to get injured that way. But Stidham with Sean Payton, they're going to make a game plan. We'll see what happens. He hasn't played in a couple of years. Last time he played for the Raiders. So can you really count it? Because it's playing for the Raiders. He was all right at times with the Patriots. What is it? Josh McDaniels knows Jarrett Stidham very well. So there's an interesting connectivity there. So we'll see what happens. They're in the AFC Championship game. But yeah, I mentioned the coaching carousel. So McDermott is out. John Harbaugh got signed by the Giants. Baltimore is in the running for a coach. Buffalo now is too, but Brandon Beane is still around. So the roster issues that they have are still exist, but they have Josh Allen, same as Baltimore as Lamar Jackson. Pittsburgh, we don't know what their roster and some of their key players are going to look like. They've only had 3 head coaches for like 50 years. They usually hire a defensive-minded young guy. There aren't that many out there right now. There's definitely the one name I heard earlier while I was watching, I don't know, Rich Eisen, or I don't know, Kay Adams or whatever, was like Davis Webb, the former quarterback. I think he's the quarterback's coach, right, for Denver. And I think he seems to be a trending candidate right now. So that would be an interesting one for some of these hires, some of these places. And then when you look at that, McDaniels now signed, Mike McDaniel is signed up to be the offensive coordinator of the LA Chargers, which is a big get for Jim Harbaugh. Going away from the boring Greg Roman garbage offense. I mean, the biggest problem is they need to shore up their offensive line. They do have running backs, wide receiver room, I think, trying to get Ladd McConkey coming back from the dead. If Keenan Allen's still going to be around, you have a good wide receiver room. You have Gadsden on the tight end. So it's really offensive line and trying to keep Herbert alive. Kansas City signed back Eric Bieniemy to be their offensive coordinator because they thought that I think Matt Nagy was going to get hired as the head coach of Tennessee, but who knows, maybe he'll get hired somewhere else. Let's see here. What is it? Yeah, Cleveland Browns, they got rid of Stefanski. Stefanski's the Atlanta coach. Arizona doesn't have anything. Vegas doesn't have nothing right now. Atlanta, and then Miami hired Jeff Hafley because their general manager came from Green Bay. So that's Halfley blew. That defense was worse this year than was last year. And then on top of it, they blew 2 late leads to the Chicago Bears late in the season and then in the playoffs. But hey, guess Stephen Ross likes them, so whatever. John Harbaugh, yeah, with the Giants. Bob Saleh is going to go to Tennessee to go and he'll at least one thing he'll have in Tennessee. There are 2 things he'll have in Tennessee. He'll actually have a quarterback in Cam Ward. He never really had one with the Jets. And then he has Jeffrey Simmons leading the defense, which, I mean, he did have some players on defense in the Jets, but of course it's the Jets. So we'll see what happens, who they hire as their offensive coordinator there with Tennessee. I mean, I would say, like, with Buffalo, it's interesting who they're going to get. And with those 3 major jobs in the AFC with Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Baltimore, those are the jobs that everyone would want. I think Jesse Minter likely is one of those, gets one of those jobs. There's a chance that Mike McCarthy might be in the running to go home to Pittsburgh. That would be interesting to see. Buffalo, I honestly feel like Joe Brady is probably going to get that one. I was thinking it would be Tom. The only other person that was like coming to my head was like Tomlin, because it's like, okay, I'm going to leave. I can deal with, the pressure of Buffalo because I dealt with Pittsburgh. And it's like, I've had issues with quarterbacks for years. I haven't had a quarterback since Ben. I'm like, now you give me a quarterback and you give me a running game. You give me a lot of those pieces. And that's the thing. Brandon Beane doesn't buy that he's the problem, and Pagula doesn't buy that he's a problem, even though you have no wide receiver room and you have glaring issues. And he's a defensive guy. I asked Professor J about that, and he wasn't really keen on it. But we'll see what happens. I think if Tomlin doesn't decide to take the year off, I think that's the job. I think it's either that one, or it'd be hilarious, but I don't think he's going to Baltimore. But I think it's Buffalo or nothing. After that, I have no idea. I think Flores is going to get a head coaching job this cycle. He did interview with Pittsburgh, so that's an interesting one. That actually does make some semblance of sense, because organizationally, it's probably better for him because they actually have stability. And they already have a lot of great pieces there, albeit older pieces. So it wouldn't be as big of an ask, but we'll see. Not sure about I think the Raiders, that one, could be a Flores or it could be Dable, I think. And then we still don't know about some of these other coordinators that might be getting interviews and stuff like that. So, well, not really sure who Cleveland is going to be getting now, or Arizona. Nobody really wants any of those jobs. So we'll see what happens with that. Then, all right, so got through that. So let us move on to some NASCAR news. RFK Racing announces they're going to enter a 4th car, car number 99, for the first time in the RFK number since going back to Carl Edwards, literally. I think that was when the last time they had the 99. Corey LaJoie, their test and reserve driver, will be driving that car. Of course, he'll be driving next week in the Clash. for Brad Keselowski, but he'll also be entered in an open car. So the open field itself is very good. Of course, Jimmy Johnson's locked himself into the Daytona 500. So there are 37. There'll be 37 locked in cars. The 36 chartered vehicles, and there'll be 40. I mean, they're going to have 40. What is it? They'll have the max, or is he a 41st car? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
He'll
Jimmy's
be
the
41st.
41st.
Yeah, so there'll still be the 4 open vehicles to make the show. You have Anthony Alfredo is gonna attempt with the Beard family again on the 62. You have Gagson's got Rush Truck Centers, whatever. Zepp will be with Briscoe and Keebler Gibbs. Fastest Ford Mustang Dark Horse SC, whatever, will be run next year as a new body style for the Cup Series. No news on the Xfinity front. On the Truck Series, Travis Pastrana will be racing for Nice Motorsports at Daytona. The Connor Mozak will drive 12 races for Spire Motorsports. Colleague is Mopar, of course, Direct Mopar and Mopar Direct Connection will be on the Daniel Dye, number 10. Cole Butcher and Jake Garcia full-time for Thor Sport. Jake Garcia moving to 98. Cole Butcher moving over to the 13. Of course, Ty Majeski's in the 88 with Menards this year. Oh, Richard will drive in the for a couple of races for Nice Motorsports, so that'll be there. There's new lug nut rules. And then they have the OEM provisional for Ram. Minimum age for competing 1.25 mile and shorter tracks in O'Reilly Auto Parts is 17. It's 16 in trucks and it's 18 in Cup. You can't fix your car and come back out for the fastest lap point. For Xfinity, for the Xfinity fastest lap in the Cup Series. So yeah. That's all right. So that's that. Cold Custard will drive for SS Greenlight in 5 Xfinity races because, of course, they've moved over to Chevy again. So a lot of groups, smaller teams have moved over to the Chevy camp. So that'll be interesting there. All right. So yeah. Let me see. Is there anything else that you saw? Yeah, and then all for the 88 truck or 88 car in the Xfinity series, all the Hendrick drivers will do 10 races. All 4 of their regular drivers will do 10 races, while Raja Karuth will drive the remaining 23 in that car to make up the majority of his season, as he'll be running for the championship in the Xfinity series. There is that. The Corey LaJoy, Travis Pastrana. Suarez and Spires Illich promoted to Cup, shifting alliances. Haas partners with Hendrick, of course. Rick Ware leaves Ford for Chevy. You can ECR engines. And Richard Chillis called the less in the line itself an ECR than Ram. Addition Collier VR for the team CEO out on her own from. Okay. Yeah, Ross Chastain, Brandon McSwain, Kyle Busch, Jim Pullman, Noah Gagson, and whoever that is. Yeah. And then Garrett Jones and Justin Alexander that we talked about last week. So, all right. So, yeah, the get into the roundup here. And in what is it? First was the Dakar Rally, which saw Nasser Al-Attiyah with Dacia win his sixth Dakar Rally. 10 different drivers scoring, with 5 manufacturers scoring stage wins. Al-Attiyah, blah, blah, blah. The Fords were up there and definitely had a chance. Nanny Roma finished second for Ford, 9 minutes 42 behind. Matthias Ekstrom for Ford, 14:33 behind, was on the podium just ahead of Sebastian Loeb for Dacia. And then Carlos Sainz was fifth. Century Matthew Serradori was sixth. Lucas Marias was seventh for Dacia. The best Toyota was actually Toby Price. Seth Quintero, the American, finished ninth and then yeah, so that's for that's not what I want to see. Yeah, so yeah, Seth Quintero was ninth. Mitchell Guthrie for Ford finished 12th, just behind Christina Gutierrez, who's part of Dacia's team. Hank Lottigan, who finished second last year, finished 20th this year, behind Leia Sands. Let's see, anybody else? Oh, the Coronels finished 39th. All right. Reginald Waymeltool. Preston Campbell finished 437 off in second place in Rally 2 on bikes to Tony Mulek. In the stock category, Sarah Price finished second to her teammate Rokas Bakasuka, I guess. Defender got 3 of the top 4. Stefan Petterhansel was 4th. In the SSV category, Brock Hager and Max Eddy for Loeb and RZR Factory won by just over an hour over fellow Americans Kyle Cheney and Jacob Argerbright for Can-Am. Great for them. In the bike category, Ricky Brabeck had the race won, made an error with 3 kilometers to go, and lost in the final stage and lost the race by 2 seconds, which is insane and horrendous. Luciano Benavides joining his brother as winners of the Dakar Rally. Brabeck finishing second with a chance to win a third Dakar. Tasha Sharani as Skylar Howes, giving Hondas second, third, and fourth. KTM, Daniel Sanders had a shoulder injury, was in a position to possibly win it again. Before that, fell to fifth. Adrian Van Beveren was sixth. Nacho Cornejo was seventh. Branch eighth. Preston Campbell finished 10th overall in the bike category. So 3 Americans in the top 10, 2 in the top 4. So Unfortunate for Ricky Brabeck, though, to lose the race there in that final, basically few kilometers of the event itself. Chili Bowl was people, of course, all the talk was about Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell, of course, being that they've won, what is it, going back to over the last 7 years, Larson had won 3 times. And before that, Bell had won 3 years in a row. Logan Seavey came in winning twice, Tanner Thorson. And now this year, Emerson Axum went out and won for Swindell Racing, the Swindell 39A. Emerson Axum over Kevin Thomas Jr. Hank Davis was your podium. Logan Seavey finished 4th. Kyle Larson flipped out a second while 15 laps into the race. Christopher Bell finished 8th. Briggs Danner, Dason Pursley, Cannon, McIntosh, Bell, Baston, Tanner Thorson, your top 10. Darren Pittman, Blake Hahn, CJ Leary, Gavin Boschel, Kobe Copeland, Corbin Rauschenberg, Justin Grant. Corbin Rauschenberg were the finishers. Everyone from Justin Grant on did not finish the main event. I'm not sure some of the other guys are in the B. 7. Let's see if any. Yeah, Chris Wyndham fell short in the B main, but Zach Daum, Gio Selzy, Cameron Key, Thomas Meserol, Corey Day. Those are Ryan Timms, Landon Brooks, Mitchell Moles, Caden Brown, Al Jones, Hayden Reinbold, Hayden Wise, Tanner Carrick, Nick Hoffman, Justin Peck, Carter Sarf, Jesse Love had a chance in the B and flipped. I'm trying to see if some of these other guys. Oh, Dylan Welsh actually made the C main there. Some of the other people that, whatever, Keebler Gibbs was there. There's a few other people. All right, yeah. So then the Supercross. Supercross, yeah. Supercross, San Diego this past weekend. In the 450s, Eli Tomac gets the win by 1.3 seconds over Hunter Lawrence and 2.92 seconds over Ken Roxon. Chase Sexton was 4th. Joey Savacci was 5th on his privateer Honda. Justin Cooper, Plessinger, Cooper Webb, Dylan Ferrandis on the Ducati, and then Malcolm Stewart rounding out your top 10. In the 250 main, Hayden Deegan gets the win over Cameron McAdoo. Excuse me. Michael Moseman, Levi Kitchen, Max Anstey, Chance Hymas, Ryder DeFrancesco, Max Voland, Dylan Schwartz, and Anthony Bourdon. Your top 10 there. The 250 West standings, Hayden Deegan retakes the points lead, gets the red plate because of, with a 1-point lead, 4th and a 1st to a 1st and a 5th over Anstey there. It's got 9 points separating the top 6. So that's Hymus, Moseman, DeFrancesco, and Levi Kitchen there. In The 450 standings, Eli Tomac has won both races. Ken Roczen 8 points back with a second and a third. Hunter Lawrence 10 points back with a fourth and a second. Sexton Cooper are 18 points back. And Cooper Webb, the defending series champion, is 21 points back after 7th, 8th place finishes. A very tight battle, basically, from 4th all the way through 11th, only separated by 6 points. Which also includes Dylan Ferrandis there. Justin Barsha didn't race last week. And then so the betas there, Austin Faulkner there didn't race last week either. Triumph, so we'll see what happens at A2. Then so for the WRC, the first rally of the new year, of course, Rally Monte Carlo, the classic pavement, of course, and then snow, night driving, Thierry Neuville going and trying to do much better after what was a disappointing defense of his championship last year. Info, entry list, and itinerary. That's exactly what I want. Entry list in the Rally 1 category. There you go. So that's what I wanted. Entry list, 11 car Rally 1 field. So Sebastian Ogier, of course, the defending world champion. Efren Evans, who finished second. Then, and Takamoto Katsuda, Oliver Solberg, and Sami Pajari, the 5 Toyotas. Hyundai will have 3 cars, Thierry Neuville, Adrian Formeau, and Hayden Paddon in their 3 cars. And then Ford will have 3 cars with Gregoire Munster, Josh McElrain, and John Armstrong making up their the 11 cars of Rally 1 in the last year, the Rally 1 category. Lancia back in Rally 2. You have a lot of French drivers here because it's Filippo Marchino from the U.S. Okay, interesting. All right, so see what happens with Rally Monte Carlo next week. All right, so we'll go back now to the Rolex 24. And which will start actually on Wednesday with teams coming in. Qualifying for the Rolex will take place on Thursday. And then Friday will be MX5 and BM, the Michelin Pilot Challenge. There, so the Michelin Pilot Challenger is going to be, 51 cars in that. There's 60 cars in the Rolex 24. 11 cars in GTP, 13 in LMP2, 15 in GTD Pro, and 21 in GTD. In the there's how many teams? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams. The Porsche Penske's and the Wayne Taylor Cadillac teams are going to run with only 3 drivers. And then JDC Miller Motorsport also is going to run with 3 drivers. Porsche Penske number 6 will have Lawrence Van Door, Kevin Estra, and Matt Campbell. Then the 7 will have Felipe Nasr, Julian Andlauer, and Lauren Heinrich, who drove for the AO Racing 77 team last year. The Wayne Taylor Racing number 10, Ricky Taylor, Philippe Albuquerque, and Will Stevens. And their 40 car, Jordan Taylor, Louis Delatraz, and Colton Herta. Then the JDC Miller Porsche with Tilman Vanderhelm, Nico Pino, and Kaylin Frederick. The Meyer Shank Racing Acura team will have Scott Dixon and AJ Allmendinger driving the 60 with Tom Blomqvist and Colin Braun. And then the 93, Alex Pillow will be, and Kaku Ota will be driving with Renger van der Zande and Nicky Yellowly there in the 93. Connor Zilich will be driving with Whelen Cadillac in the 31. BMW WRT, Sheldon Vanderlyn, Adries Van Thor in the 24. Raffaele Marciello, Philip Bang, Robin Friends, Rene Rast, and Marco Wittmann, Kevin Magnussen. Of course, they're running WRT, running both programs now in IMSA and in the World Endurance Championship. The Aston Martin will be racing for the first time. The Valkyrie, Ross Gunn, Roman DeAngelis, Alex Riberas, Marco Sorensen. It's a very strong team there. So we'll see what happens, how that car fares. United Autosports, the 2 will have Ben Hanley, Hunter McElroy, and Mikkel Jensen. That's George Kurtz, 04. Sebastian Bourdais, part of the Tower Motorsports team. Kiffin Simpson will be driving for them. David Heinmeier Hansen with TDS. Era Motorsport, Logan Sargent will be driving with them. He's driving for Ford in the World Endurance Championship because they're going to be back driving. They're going to be in prototypes in 27. John Field, Oliver Jarvis, Job Ben Oitert, and Seth Lucas. So Intersport Racing back. Daniel Goldberg for United Autosports. Inter Europe, Paul Bejoy Gorg, Antonio Felix da Costa. Ben Keating driving the 52. Brian Hurd Autosport car. Misha Goikberg, Parker Thompson, Harry Tinknell, Pratt and Miller, 73. Pietro and Enzo Fittipaldi driving together, the brothers. Chris Cumming, the bronze driver. AF Corsa, Dylan Murray, Max Veer, Nicholas Nielsen, PJ Hyatt, and Dane Cameron winners last year. Johnny Edgar, Christian Rasmussen, the IndyCar racer. Number 343, Nick Cassidy. Nolan Siegel will be driving for them. Then new driver, GTD Pro, the BMW Paul Miller Racing, Connor D. Filippi, Neil Verhagen, Max Hesse, and Dan Harper, which are part of their 48 car last year. Then the Corvette team will have 3 drivers. Usual. FAF will have James Hinchcliffe. The Lexus team will have 3 drivers, along with Ford and Ferrari. Windward Racing with the Mercedes, and will be running 1 car in the Pro category with Lucas Stoltz, Maxime Martin, Scott Noble, Jason Hart, Tree RC Competition, Miguel Molina, James Collado. And the 75 car. Kenny Abel will have Will Power and Chaz Mostert there. Get Speed Mercedes, Maximilian Gotz, Jules Gounon. The Mustangs have 3 drivers. The 77AO will have Nick Tandy, Harry King, Alessio Piccarello. Manthey with the 911 Porsche, Bachler, Feller, Aiken, Guavin from Turkey, Brining. Yeah, so Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan will have a McLaren. They're running Easterson and Nikita Johnson, 2 young Americans, so they'll be running a full silver, 2 silvers in the pro category, so that'll be interesting. Yuri Vips, Dean McDonald. And then GT Daytona, you need to have 4. Sheena Monk will be driving the Myers Riley Ford with Felipe Fraga, Jensen Altsman, and Roman Grosjean. 13 Autosport former winners, Aaron Vassar, Sullivan, Lexus, Lilo Wadu, Tree RC, Ferrari. Yay, Yaffe will be a part of that team. Rubens Barrichello's son will be driving with Harder Racing. Jan Halen will be with RS1, whoever they are. Conquest Racing still in the. And DXDT will have Scott McLaughlin driving this race. Magnus will be in with the Aston with John Potter, Spencer Papali, Nicky Team, and Madison Snow. Windward will also be in the GTD category with Russell Ward, Philip Ellis, and Lucas Auer. Gradient will be running a Ford Mustang with Joey Hand, Corey Lewis, Tel Bechtelsheimer. So that's a decent team there. Inception with their Ferrari. Henrik Hedman, Casper Stevens, I don't know. Turner Motorsport. Adam Adelson, Thompson, Elliott Skier. Callum Eilot will be driving for Wright Motorsports. Okay. Milner Motorsports, number 123. Don't know any of those. Monthai will be driving. Yeah, they'll have one GTD with Ryan Hardwick, Richard Leitz. So, deep field, 60 cars. Interesting to see. I mean, I think prototypes were pretty even in terms of Cadillac and Porsche having pace. Acura always seems to do well there. We'll see what the BOP does here in qualifying. What were your thoughts? You were able to go and take in some of the testing.
Yeah, I was at the Roar on Friday with a friend, and we went out, took pictures and stuff, and took in the sights and everything. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, JDC Miller posted fast time during testing, so I mean, we'll see how that goes, and especially since I think they're running last year's Aero package, and Porsche Penske's running this year's. So that's going to be a really interesting dynamic there, especially if they end up outperforming the Penske team there. So that's going to be interesting there. Also, just from a driver's standpoint, of course, one of the favorite things about the Rolex 24 is the all-star cast of drivers from different series. IndyCar, a couple NASCAR guys, F1 guys now as well. Logan Sargent, now Colton Herta on his way up to F1 potentially. So it's, guys that have, know what they're doing, and, are able to put together a good performance. Really excited to see what, Connor Zilic can do, in the GTP Cadillac, for Action Express Racing. Really interested to see. I'll tell you this, we were in the garage area, and I saw Alex Pillow like just casually walking through the crowd. Like I saw him, and I was like, oh man, that's Alex Pillow. He looked like, I mean, it was like during the lunch, like they just broke in for lunch, so maybe he was headed off to like a meeting, or because he was going in the direction like towards like the haulers, or not the haulers, but the I think like towards like to the fan zone, and then go to the RV area, where maybe I'm speculating there, but I saw him walk by, and I was like, I wanted to like go up and like catch up to him and try to get a picture, but then I realized then I was like, well, then I'm gonna end up drawing more people to him, and then everything. And he was already walking fast and stuff. So I saw him though, and I was like, this is the Indy 500 champion. He's just casually walking through the through the garage area, and like there's like a decent. I mean, it's not like a lot of people there, but there's a decent amount of people there for the war, and people are there looking at the garages, looking at the cars and everything. There's Mr. Hello Pillow himself, and I was like, oh shit. And then my friend that I was with, I told him, I was like, that's the IndyCar champion, Indy 500 winner right there. And he was like, because he hasn't really paid attention to IndyCar, he's more of a sports car guy, and he said like maybe if it was like Montoya, he would have recognized him from like back in the day, but I was just like, yeah, I should have got a picture. Whatever. I mean, it would have been 2 Indy 500 winners in the same picture, but so that was pretty.
There you go.
Pretty
that's
interesting.
That's the flex.
Yeah, that should have been the flex. I mean, we'll see. Maybe get on the grid, and damn it, Elio's not there this year. Ah, shoot. Maybe we'll get a picture with Pillow. We'll figure out a way. Maybe I'll come there early enough on Saturday, and we'll get on the pit lane. Maybe Pillow will be there or something. I'll figure out a way. Maybe. So, yeah, interested there. I mean, Will Power also. So,
Elio owns the team. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but Will Power is also
Power, Colton.
But I mean, he's also another 500 champion there. So, yeah, really interested to see. And then of course, you got tons of IndyCar personalities as well. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it was a lot of like just taking pictures and all that stuff, getting ready for the race. I'll say that they look like they're prepared to have a bigger crowd this year. I think the F1 movie, did a number here for attendance, because it looked like they've got more structure or infrastructure in place, for directing crowds and stuff, and they got like some more gates up, it looks like, to direct traffic and everything. Because my friend that I went with, like, he was there at the Roar last year, and he's like, yeah, this looks like way different than it was last year. It seemed like you could get it was a little bit more, seemed a little bit more like less restrictive last year than this year, but looks like they got some barricades up, like where in the high traffic areas, to try to route traffic around and stuff. So obviously they're expecting, I think a couple years ago, 2024, there was a lot of people, and now 2026 looks like there's gonna be a whole bunch of people, especially with I think the increase in interest from the F1 movie. So I think that's what's going to show that there's so many people on pit lane on Saturday. So yeah, I mean, we'll be there Saturday and everything, and yeah, looking forward to another year of the Rolex, and seeing all the cool cars throughout the race, seeing just what all these drivers can do behind the wheel, and we'll see who ends up coming out on top Sunday at 1:30, I guess.
You may want to get a picture with Sir Scott Dixon, since he has been knighted by New Zealand. So there you should. So not only an Indy 500 champion, one of the greatest IndyCar drivers ever lived, but he's also Sir Scott Dixon. I think I'm just gonna have to insist on saying it, because I did the Sir Scott Dixon video for Motorsport Reports, so now I'm just gonna insist on calling him that. Since Sir Lewis Hamilton, Sir Scott Dixon. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that at the Rolex, and of course we'll talk about it on episode 300 of the Gripster podcast, which, as it works out timing wise, will end up being on my birthday, if we do it when I'm saying that we're going to end up doing it. So, which would be really interesting and crazy to think. Milestone of a birthday, and then a milestone of 300 episodes of the show, which is just insane to think that we've done that many episodes sorry, got distracted there. Anyways, yeah, so I wanted to go and see I'll go and bring up the spotter guide, see what the cars look like. But yeah, so we'll go from Rolex, and we'll talk about it next week, to NFL Championship weekend. So, top 2 seeds in the AFC, the 1 and 5 in the NFC, both from the NFC West. It should have been the 1 and 2 seeds in the NFC, honestly. Denver with their backup quarterback. New England trying to return back to the Super Bowl with a new regime, new quarterback, new old regime, because the fact is Josh McDaniels was there for years, and then Vrabel played under Belichick. And he had been in an AFC Championship game before with Derrick Henry a few years back. And I think it was with Marcus Mariota. Maybe, or it was him or Tannehill, one or the other. I don't remember offhand, but yeah, that'll be the first game. Seattle hosting the Rams, the second game. I mean, the Stidham story would be interesting. It would be pretty cool for a backup guy to try and pull it out. Denver winning would actually be a little different, at least. But they didn't look great last week, even with the break and being given all the help that Josh Allen gave them. New England, I think, is on top of things at the moment, and May trying to prove that, whether he does win the MVP or not, that he isn't just based on the schedule here, and go out there on the road to get a big win. New England goes back to the Super Bowl. And then, yeah, so that's my pick. I'm taking New England. Or what are you thinking, Josh?
Yeah, I think I also take New England. Yeah, like that tweet from Nick Foles saying, New England likes to struggle against backup quarterbacks in championship type games, but I think it's just going to end up being too much for Jarrett Stidham there, no matter how well prepared and how much of an effort he gives. I think it'll just be too much for him, and the Patriots will go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, both. If Denver plays a better defensive game than they did last week, if they're able to stop the run, then I think there's a chance. But I also look at it in the sense that Denver doesn't really have a receiver core. I mean, granted, I think Courtland Sutton is going to have to play a big game. He's going to have Christian Gonzalez on him, which means like Marvin Mims or like Evan Ingram is going to have like a big game. RJ Harvey is going to have to play big. Supposedly, they said that what's his name, the running back, would be back. J.K. Dobbins, I think. Yeah, J.K. Dobbins might be back for this game, and he hasn't played in God knows how long. So that's asking a lot there. To go and make something happen there, but they got the extra day of prep and rest and all that. The NFC Championship games, Seattle and LA. Either way makes me want to puke. Which one do I hate less? It makes me sad to say this, but I'd rather see LA win. Because at the end of the day, it kind of goes and fits the narrative anyways that McVay's a better coach than Shanahan. Seattle winning just bothers me. I don't know. It just makes me, just gives me I just can't stand it. And the notion that like Sam Darnold wins the possibility of Sam Darnold winning a Super Bowl just makes me pukey. Like, what the fuck? Like, I mean, if Stat Padford gets a second one and he goes and walks off into the sunset and the Rams aren't really relevant, it's fine. They'll be relevant, but they ain't going to have a big-time quarterback. That was a rumor there. Like, oh, you'll go overreaction Mondays, like, oh, Josh Allen will go to the Rams. Yeah, that would be the thing. Or like Joe Burrow will go to the Rams or something. Then it'd be like how the LA Dodgers buy everybody, but I'd rather see the Rams win. And I'm just picking that based on the fact that I can't take it with Seattle. I think Seattle probably is the better team overall. They played better overall. They've destroyed one of their division rivals twice in 3 weeks. They were able to play other common opponents pretty relative to the Rams better than the Rams. Rams have been winning by the skin of their teeth in both of these games. So if they were to get in a shootout again, this time though they'd have to hold on to it. If it isn't a shootout and it's a grind out battle, I'm saying that the veteran presence and Stafford and McVay goes and somehow rises above that great defense that Seattle has, to get it done and go and play against New England in a rematch of a recent Super Bowl. Who are you taking, Josh?
I'm gonna take Seattle in this one. I think just their defense is just too strong, and just hyperbole speaking, but I think probably their backups on their defensive line could probably be starters on like lower end teams. So, they have had a really good year defensively. Obviously, Jackson Smith and Jigba is really good as a receiver, one of the best in the league right now. Sam Darnold's clearly proven. He's making the Vikings regret giving him away and letting him go there. Of course, if you're I guess a Rams fan or rooting for the Rams, I guess like your hope is that they have struggles on offense. There have been a couple of games this season where the Seahawks have struggled on offense, but I think they still ended up winning in a lot of those games. But like especially like some of the closer games that they played this year, like the game they played against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, with Phillip Rivers, were able to hang around the entire game and play defense. And then they didn't win until they got a last-second field goal there. I don't think Sam Darnold threw a touchdown in that game at all. I think that was all field goals for the Seahawks. So, if they have a game like, the Rams are gonna have to pitch a really good defensive game plan there. So, if they're able to hold them to a low-scoring game, I think the Rams could pull it off. But I think also just from the way that Seattle has played in recent times since that game where they won against the Rams. It seems like they've had a lot of momentum, and they just crushed a lot of teams in their path. So, yeah, I think Seattle wins this game. It'll be a rematch of the Super Bowl in 2014-2015 season against the Patriots. They're obviously completely different teams now from that era. So it'll be an interesting matchup there for sure.
I'll definitely see who it is and give you an early thoughts on that game and matchup on episode 300. As long, and also with the Clash coming up too. But before all that, Josh, tell us about the iRacing 24 hours and everything else going on in the world of sim racing in the sim segment.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for us, Saturday, Sunday ran the iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona. We had an interesting race, of course, for our race that we were in, or our split that we were in. I'm gonna try to pull up the results here for that. Started in 8th in class and finished in 10th there. So I don't think we had the best qualifying lap, but obviously it's a long race and everything there. But yeah, lap 5, so the teammate that qualified started off the race. He hit the last curb going back onto the oval on the backstretch there, and then that just hit it wrong, I guess, and it was enough to launch the car sideways and just go head on into the wall there, and then we were able to drive it back to the pits on the apron at like 35 miles an hour. And then we surprisingly only had like 6 minutes of repairs. But then at that point, you're down. 6 minutes of repairs and then like 4 minutes of optional repairs. So in total, I think we were out for like 10 minutes, and I think we had lost like 10 laps from that. So right off the bat, just already behind from that. But then I, later on, we had some more stability there, just trying to hang around and climb back up in the running order. And then I got in. I had a solid first stint. I don't think I even had any incident points my first stint, and then it was a double stint. So then the second half of that was coming up to the end of my fuel window and trying to avoid a crash in the S's, I guess, after the first turn of the infield section, and got hit from behind and then went into the tire packs. And then that was another set of 6 minutes of repairs and then like a minute of optional repairs. So then we were behind there, and then the next guy jumped in, then he did a stint, and then I had a little bit of break until maybe I have to go look at the sheet again here. Let me see. Sheets. Go back to the stint sheet here. So I started, my first stint was ended up being at 10:15 or around 10:14 a.m., ending at 11:35, and then the next one after that was from 2:13 until 3:30, and then I didn't get back in the car until around 9 o'clock. But of course, took some time off, went and got something to eat, went out for a walk so I could at least, do something, outside in the middle of this. But then I was able to come back and do some spotting and everything and all that. And between all of that, I mean, I think I don't know if we had any incidents during that. But then, my one teammate, while he was in, got into an incident, I think, and then had another set of repairs. It was crazy. like I think he had like a before the International Horseshoe, the GTP did not leave a GT3 car like enough room, and that caused the GT3 car to hit the curb, and then he went back into the GTP and then just came right on into our path and just took us across the infield and all the way through the grass on the other side, and then we ran, got like right into the oncoming path of one of the Mustang GT3s there. So that led to another set of repairs into tow, and then because like one of our teammates was not feeling well and couldn't drive, I guess, like we ended up, my one teammate had to do a quadruple stint, so he was in for four stints in a row, and then he's like, I've got to like take my girlfriend home and everything, like I can do these 4 stints, take her home, and you do a triple. So I did a triple stint, which I've never done before. I think that went relatively well for the most part. I think I had 1 spin in there, and then everything. But I think by the third one, I was starting to lose pace, just because, it wasn't as fast anymore. There, and then my teammate did another double stint, and then I did another triple stint from 12:45 until like 2:45 in the morning. So, and then after that, I was finished. I went to bed after that. But then my our teammate in the UK took a drive after he woke up, or after I did my last stint. But then I think about maybe like 40 minutes after I had gone to sleep, they got taken out by a GT3 car going into the kink. I guess this GT3 car, we were trying to pass him on the outside, and it looked like we had room to or on the inside to pass him on the inside, and then he hit the grass and like hooked left and then got into us, and that just sent us in the tire packs in the West Horseshoe. And then I also cooked it in the trying to overtake a GT3 the lap after our pit stop, and then I backed it into the tires there as well in my last stint. So after all those incidents, I think there was another incident too where the one of our other teammates like spun it coming out of the back onto the oval section in turn 6 and 7. So after all those incidents, like we had worked our way back up to 10th in class. So I think there was 12 entries, and we were obviously down so many laps after the very first incident. Once we fought back up to 10th, like we were already like so many laps behind in repairs, like we decided to just call it at that point. I think we had gotten up to, like, before my last incident, we had gotten up to like 21st in the running order overall. But then once my teammates took over and everything, we had that last incident, and then in class there was just nothing really to gain from it, so they decided to go ahead and park for the day. So I didn't get to completely finish there, but I guess it was a good effort overall. I mean, I felt like I drove clean this time, compared to last year, but was able to gain a lot of experience, and then now I've leveled up into A class on iRacing, so I'll have access to the official IMSA series in iRacing here, so give me some more opportunity to race, like, I guess in the same type of series against like multi-class IMSA racing with GT3, LMP2, and GTP. So it was pretty solid effort, I think. Just had tons of horrible luck there with getting caught up in other people's incidents and stuff, and then I think the first one kind of set the tone, but of course it was just a lot of stuff that was out of our control there, but still fun, still entertaining to do and everything. So we'll come back to later, I guess, for next year whenever there's another long endurance event. Maybe try to do Sebring, don't know yet. But definitely gain more experience endurance racing on iRacing here, and everything. I will say, not our race, but another race. It's on Reddit. Apparently, a GT3 car had like 518 incident points, which is incredible for an iRacing entry. Obviously, I think they just were in there to troll or something, but obviously they had way. I mean, because you're only allowed 100 incident points before you start taking drive-through penalties, I think, and they had 518, so they were just a missile. It was, again, not in our race, but saw it on Reddit and seen people talk about it in one race. And I think somebody's actually gonna try to make a I guess somebody that was in that split is gonna try to make a documentary on it and see how that goes. But yeah, kind of entertaining to watch that. But yeah, a lot of stuff, and like you said, like with your I guess people at Apex, yeah, just a lot of incidents throughout. And it's the challenge of endurance racing to be able to last, who can last the longest and stuff. And a lot of times it just comes down to being able to, it's not necessarily your pace, but just if you can avoid all the incidents and everything. So we'll come back next year and for Daytona 24 or any other endurance race, and hopefully have a better a better result at it. So but yeah, of course you can look at that on my Twitch stream on Twitch. You can go in there, my Twitch channel at usailor2, and go watch that, which is up there. Obviously, the last since this they stopped at like 3:45 Eastern time or so. So the last 4 hours of it are essentially nothing, because I was already asleep and I left my stream running. So once I woke up, I intended on waking up in time for the finish, and then when I woke up and saw it was that they had parked it for the race, I had to kill the stream, and I realized I had nothing on the screen, or well, not nothing, but like it just showed like just different camera views but no action for the next 4 hours or whatever. So but yeah, you can see all that on there, and look at my iRacing stream on there. And then I guess the Daytona 500 is coming up as well for iRacing. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to actually do it, because I'm kind of not happy with the next gen racing on iRacing. But if there's an 87 Daytona 500, maybe I'll look at the 87 cars. I might try to do that, because that might actually be more of a challenge at doing that. So we'll see if there's something like that there. But yeah, it's up there on my Twitch channel there, so you can look at that. And if you want background noise, or you want to see how we did there. And then of course Twitter page, JP Huffine on there. Go look at my stuff on Twitter and all that. And then of course our Scripture Podcast YouTube page. Go there and subscribe to our page on there. And then of course Josh Huffine Photography on Instagram. You go in there and look at my Instagram page. We'll try to post the war pictures here real quick before the 24 hours, and then we'll have to sort through tons of pictures after the 24-hour race and post those pictures as well over the next couple weeks, couple days. So yeah, I mean, racing's back. I'm glad to be back in it. Talk about the real sports, to paraphrase from that Ernest Hemingway quote, after all these games that we've been watching. So yeah, ready to get into it, of course, here in 2026 for racing.
Yeah, with Chili Bowl done, now we're getting to the Rolex. Next week will be the the Clash. So I mean, it's football for our teams is done too. So basically, we're moving into the racing phase of the year, and get, in my case, turning a year older too. So and it's an interesting time. It's a good time. Wasn't feeling great earlier today, but it always seems to work out. We're doing the show and puts me kind of balances things out, puts things back in perspective. Of course, yeah, Josh handles the Grifter Podcast YouTube page, where our video feed is. GSP 1428 audio feed is there as well. If you want to just strictly have it that way, you can find it at podbean.com or philipgmatthew.com. The Grifter Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter, PGMatthew28, Instagram, PGMGSP28, and Blue Sky as well. We'll be on doing that race tomorrow. Hopefully do decent. There are people running it solo, so that have a lot of pace, so it's going to be hard to beat those guys, but I have a good teammate, so we'll see what happens. He's really fast. Probably try to limit the amount of consumption I do. One, for hangover purposes, but two, to maybe even help my own cause. But with that, for Josh, I'm Phil. We'll see you next time for episode 300 of the Grifter Podcast. 300 episodes. Can you believe it, man? That's insane. But yeah, we're gonna go and do that, and NASCAR. We're gonna be talking NASCAR next week. We're talking about it like last week, but it's only a few weeks ago we were talking about Phoenix, and now we're back for another season of NASCAR racing. It's crazy to think. 35 years, yeah. Wow. I am getting old. All right. With that lovely realization, for Josh, Phil, and we'll talk about Daytona, the Rolex. We'll talk about the Clash, who'll be in the Super Bowl, coaching news, everything else that comes up. We'll talk about here on the GSP. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.